What it is, guys, welcome back to Swish Life Garage. I'm back with it on my Civic here. If you guys saw the previous video, I did fix the timing belt. The reason why I fixed that is because I've been having a check engine light for a misfire on all 4 cylinders. So I fixed that issue, but I'm still experiencing a misfire, especially at idle. What I plan to do on here, of course, I'm going to go through the spark plug wires. I'm going to check out the distributor. I am going to take off the distributor. You could tell it's been leaking out through here. There is the O-ring. I'm going to get that replaced. So I'm going to take this on off, open up the cap, see what's going on in there, check out the contact points, and hopefully I'm going to find the issue. After taking that cap off, I just noticed there's a sticker, warranty void if removed. Same over here, warranty void if removed. So this is an aftermarket distributor. To take the distributor off, there's 3 12 mils, one up on top and one down here on each side. Clean things up here a little bit, and also the distributor. Now I'm going to change out that O-ring. I did purchase the O-ring from Honda, part number 30110-PA1-732. Internally on the distributor, I don't see anything wrong. Again, this is pretty much a new distributor. And also the cap, I don't see anything that is wrong in there. Everything looks nice and clean. I'm going to reinstall it, and then after here, I'm going to look into the spark plug wires. Took those spark plug wires on out, and I'm going to be installing these. They're from my previous Civic that had gotten totaled, and real quickly put them on in. But I was able to get that broken piece out of the cap without having to take it on out. Just use a flathead and just flew out. What I still need to do is set the base timing. I already have my timing gun here on the positive and negative leads. I have it set on the number 1 cylinder. For the Y8, it's going to be set to 12 degrees, and for the Z6 it's set to 16 degrees. Everything is set up. The other thing you have to do is go in the interior, go to the blue plug that's by the ECU, and it's a 2-wire plug. You're going to put a jumper wire. That blue plug, it's going to be on the passenger side by the kick panel, and it's 2 wires. I just have a little wire shaped into a V. That's all I use. The other thing I want to do before I take it on this test drive, I've been experiencing this issue when I try to restart the car. Sometimes the starter just clicks, and sometimes I'll just turn it enough times, it'll click, 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 and then it'll start up. Definitely that means my starter is acting up in some sort of way. And I'm going to get the starter taken on out. I'm going to open it on up. Hopefully it just has some dirt or corrosion in there. Clean it on up and it should be good to go. I'm going to be taking off this 10 for the bracket. It looks like a 12. Unplug the signal wire. And those 2 bolts holding on the starter, they're going to be a 14. Starter right here, I'm going to start taking that apart. First thing I'm going to take off is this 12. I'm going to be taking this housing on out. These 2 are going to be an 8 mil. This part of the starter is the actual motor of it. The other part is going to be the solenoid. That's just what receives the signal and tells it to start on up. I'm still hearing the clicking from the starter, so that means the solenoid is working. To get it out, I have these 2 Phillips. It is a little dirty in here. See that dirt? And also in the housing. From here you are able to take out the motor, and those are the brushes that go up against here. So I'm going to clean everything on up. Now I'm going to throw everything back together. This, how you going to put it in, they do have springs on here that push it on out. So from the back side, I'm going to be able to push them on in and then get this on in here. Put it in a little sideways. kick these other ones out. I'm gonna put this bottom piece here. Just push it on there, and then we're gonna put this housing back in. And there are magnets in here, so it kind of just wants to go in there. So I'm gonna be putting the screws back in. And set the housing back onto the base. I'm going to reinstall the starter. I still experience the issue with the starter and the check engine light for the Misfire. As for the starter, I believe I found the issue. I remember seeing this on the battery wire. I was like, why do they have this? And it's some sort of connection here, possibly not making a tight connection enough to the starter, and so that's why I experienced some of the issue. Over here also, they have a crimp connection. So I am going to take off the positive and the negative battery cable and change it onto this car. I'm going to take it off from my totaled Civic and put it onto here. I could fix these connections and solder them up, but why not put the wire harness that has no cuts in it? For the negative wire, of course, just take off the negative terminal and then just follow it right here. It's held on by a 10. It does have this little plastic clip you just slide on up. This positive wire is going in 3 places. One's going to the starter, this one's going to like this fuse box right here, and then this other one is going to this other fuse box in the corner. First one I'm going to get to is underneath this fuse box. Take that cover off, and then there's an 8mm that holds it on in. This other one here, going to have to take off this little fuse box. After that's loose, press it on down, open up the cap, you just press these tabs on in. Then in here, this white wire is going to be connected to another 8mm. For this third wire that goes to the starter, you're going to have this white clip you could get to on this back side. Get those tabs, push it down. Here you have another plastic clip, just bend the tab outwards. Get that off, slide it on off. Over here, you're going to do the same thing. Just got to take off this 12 that goes to the starter. I have the other harness from my other Civic. I did give it a quick wipe down. They still have the factory connections for the battery. No crimp connections on there. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this on in. Battery harness in there, and it does look a whole lot better. Hopefully now I don't have the starting issue. Before I throw the airbox back in, I'm going to take off the distributor cap. I'm going to inspect it again, inspect the rotor as well, see if it's loose, anything like that that might be causing the misfire on here. I don't see anything wrong with it other than it's aftermarket. So what I'm going to do is take the other one off of my totaled Civic and swap it onto here. Got that distributor changed out, and now I just need to test drive the car. I'm going to keep the other distributor cap on me. If that light does come on, I'm going to change it on out. Perhaps it could just be the cap. I know this one looks new, but let's just say it might be faulty. We never know. So I'm going to see if that problem persists, and as well for the starter as well. I probably drove about 10 miles and I still got the check engine light, but this time it was for cylinder 1 and cylinder number 2. I carried the other cap on me, distributor cap. I stopped at the gas station, changed it on out real quick, and now I drove on the car about 100 miles. I have not got the check engine light for a Misfire. I did get a check engine light for a VTEC oil pressure sensor, which is right here. This one looks kind of nasty, so I am going to have to change that out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this distributor. I'm going to put back the other one, the aftermarket one, but I'm gonna put this cap on it and see if I still don't have the misfire. The distributor is on with the older cap and the base timing is set. So again, I'm gonna test drive the car for the rest of the day, and hopefully that check engine light does not come on for the misfire. Here is that oil pressure sensor, has a cap on there to protect the threads and the sensor, and does also come with the O-ring. Take this old sensor off, just unplug it, and then get a wrench, a 22. Oil is going to come out. Let me just get this. There's the old sensor. For some reason it's just all rusted up. Take out the old O-ring, the new O-ring, put it on there. Gotta be careful not to let it fall. I started the car and I still had the check engine light. I came back to the plug and I noticed the wires are just falling off. About to just completely fall off right there. I'm going to take this plug apart, see if I could possibly reattach the wires to the pins. Firstly, I picked out this white plastic out of the connector, took that out. You're going to get the plug, and then right there you guys are able to see there's little plastic tabs. You bend them outwards while pushing down on the little pin. You do that for both sides, and then it started pushing out the back. It came out like this. I pulled out the pin that was completely broken. This one is about to break as well. I'm gonna just go ahead and just rip it. Hopefully this works. All I did was open up the connectors, and so I could get the other end of the wire in there. I'm gonna try to close it. Let's see if it works, hopefully. Oh, it seems to be holding. Might be a little ghetto, but hey man, if it works, it works. I would like to have the actual tool so I could crimp on some new pins. I'm sure I will get it in the future, but for now, let's make this work. My check engine light should turn off. Let's get this plugged in. I might have not even need that new sensor. I pretty much finished editing this whole video and was getting close to release it, honestly. Put about 1,000 miles on this car, but then suddenly the check engine light came back on for cylinder misfire number 1 and number 3. So what I did, I just ordered the parts, man. The rotor part number IR449. I forget the brand name at this moment. And then Walker Products for the cap, part number 9251036. So real quickly, I'm going to throw these parts on, and before I release this video, I'm going to put quite a few miles on this just to make sure it completely stays off. I tried pulling the rotor off and it's not sliding out. Sometimes they could get rusted on there, so I'm going to get some vice grips, try to shake it on off. If not, I might have to cut it. So it broke off, but the metal piece that holds it on is still on there. I can see some rust. So take this off now that I can, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut this thing on off. And we're going to start cutting right on the side here. I don't want to cut on the top just because of that screw or where it's supposed to go, so I don't want to damage that. Didn't even cut completely through it. I think the heat kind of just helped it and it got loose. So there it is. A little piece of 320 grit sandpaper. I'm gonna sand off the rust off of this shaft here. tiny bit of grease. I'm just going to grease up the shaft to keep it up from rusting again. Here's the new rotor. Just put this on. Really wasn't any difference. I was still getting that check engine light. Check engine light is not coming from here. I'm starting to think that the check engine light is coming from some bent valves in the head, and so that's why I want to be verifying. I'm going to be doing a compression test, do a leak down test, and probably put down the board camera into the pistons and see what's going on. I'm going to start off with cylinder 1. So cylinder 1 looking at to be 180. Cylinder 2 at 180. Cylinder 3 looking to be about 190. And cylinder 4 looking to be about 195. I'm going to do the leak down test next. I'm going to take off the radiator cap, so if there is a leak in the coolant, we'll be able to see bubbles come out of there. Also take off the oil cap, so again, if there's a leak, going to be able to hear it inside of the crankcase. I'll get the number 1 cylinder on top dead center, and then get the leak down test hooked up to it with the air hose and push it all the way up to 100 psi. Hopefully it holds 100 psi. If not, there's going to be a leak. But of course, every motor isn't going to be at 100%, but you want to at least hold about 90, 85 psi if it's at 100 psi. And anything below that, pretty much you're probably going to have a bent valve or a leaky piston ring. So we'll see what's up with this motor. Hopefully there's not an issue with it, but can't get that check engine light off. I do have my ratchet with the 17 mil on the crank bolt. I'm going to be turning that counterclockwise. I have a long extension inside of the motor. Whenever the extension reaches its highest point, I start to notice that it's going to drop back down. I'm going to be at top dead center. But if you do the leak down test and all the air is leaking, you're going to have to turn the motor 180 degrees and get it on its true top dead center when all the valves are closed up, and so you could properly do the test. I got the leak down test plugged into cylinder 1, and the air compressor about to fill up to 100 psi, so we're ready to go here. All the way counterclockwise, so it's not just going to force in pressure as soon as I hook it up. Now I'm going to turn it up all the way to 100. Hopefully this stays at 100 or 90. Let's go ahead and fill it on up. So you see right there, I try to put it up to 100. And it's just leaking out, and it's going out the exhaust, so I gotta turn the motor 180 degrees. Let me turn it counterclockwise back to 0. So I turn the motor over, put in the air, let's turn it on up. So right there it's holding. So cylinder 1 is good. I think we could check cylinder 4. So cylinder 4 looks good. So I'm at 100, it's at 90, so that's still good. Alright, and cylinder 3. 100, looks to be about 95, so that one's passing as well. In the cylinder, or in the motor with the board camera, definitely this motor has been rebuilt. You can see all the hatch marks on there. Not sure how good it comes out on camera, but you can see the hatch marks running along the cylinder. And then if you look up on the head has been cleaned up. Still a tiny bit of carbon on there, but it's pretty clean, man. If I go deeper into the cylinder, same thing. My last video, whenever I did the timing belt, I took off the valve cover. Everything underneath there was pretty clean, and I suspected that the motor has been rebuilt. But definitely seeing this, it just confirms what I was thinking. Other thing I thought about is the map sensor. I'm going to take this on off, see if it's dirty. Possibly might just swap it on out for another one I have. But this thing is held on with 2 Phillips screws, one right there and one right there, so easily just get it off. Here's the other map sensor from the totaled Civic. I'm just gonna put this right back on here. Now what I'm going to do is take out the spark plugs and make sure they're gapped properly. Now they should be gapped to about 43 hundredths of an inch and 44 hundredths of an inch. So let me see what they are at. Seems to be at 44. This one's set to 43. This one is set to 45. It's set to 43. And the last one here, this one looks to be about 46. Boom, first try, got it on 43. Still getting that check engine light. Now I'm going to take a look at the fuel filter, see if any sort of junk or anything is coming out of there, and then possibly move on to the injectors and see how those are looking. Everything is pretty much bolted in. I did cut this PCV hose because it was just collapsing on itself, and then I cut it and it was too short, so I just got this other little hose just to make it reach, and then I'll be replacing that pretty soon. So I just gotta hook up the injectors and then just snap that back in place. Right, yeah, so I'm still experiencing that misfire. So what I'm gonna do right now, since I cut up that PCV hose, I'm gonna fix it. I got the original hose here from Honda, part number 17131 P2J000. There it is right there. And then I got this PCV valve V246. Got the O-ring for the breather box back there, the black box, part number 91324 PC6000. So I'm going to get this plastic release from the fuel rail and then just disconnect that hose. I can take this piece off. I'm going to lift up the car real quick, put it on the jack stand, put the handbrake on, and so I could slide up underneath there. Here's that black box I was telling you about. Now technically I don't have to take out the black box, but since I have that O-ring, I'm going to be taking it out. Kind of hard to see, but above your oil filter you're going to see your PCV. I'm going to pull it out so you guys are able to see it a little bit easier. Just wiggle it out. There it is right there. So it's really not hard to get out. That's out of the way. I'm going to get the black box out. There's a 10 mil right here, if you're able to see that, and then there should be another 10 mil up on top. I'm going to have to feel for it and get the socket on there. Just a little bit difficult because you can't see it. You can see where my extension is at, and then it's with a deep socket, 10 mil. I'm going to attach my ratchet on there and get that off. Now the black box is loose. There might be some oil drip, so just kind of get ready for that. This wire harness. Of course, if you have your wire harness bolted down, it will be on there. Cleaned up the breather box. Still a little bit dirty, but for most part it's pretty clean. Took off that O-ring. It's already, oh, you see? Pretty much plastic now. And so I'm going to put on this new O-ring. This is more like it. Cleaned out the inside. Put some mineral spirits, shook it on up a couple of times, and then I took it to the hose and just put it on blast all inside of there. Try to get as much carbon as I could. Hit it with the heat gun, try to dry up all that water on the inside, and so now we're good to go. I have the black box in here bolted down with 2 bolts, this one and then that top one. Didn't record it because there's not too much room in here, but this one's real easy, and then the top one I was able, you know, I have real skinny fingers, so I was able to just get up in there and start it, get the socket and the ratchet, and just tighten it up. So that is installed in here. I'm going to get the hose and the PCV, put that together, and then drop it in here and pop it in. My bad, y'all, I forgot to press record, but it was real simple. You just drop the PCV with the hose in between the intake there, underneath the plastic, connect it onto the intake, put the clamp, put the plastic back into its clips, and then go underneath and pop that PCV into the breather. Here is the old PCV hose. You could just tell that it collapsed on itself. Before I cut it, it was a lot more collapsed and a lot more clogged up. So the PCV was clogged up and the hose was clogged. I'm going to continue driving the car, see if this has anything to do with my misfires, but honestly, out of all the Hondas I've I've had, they pretty much always had a clogged PCV, but never gave me any misfires. But just to make sure to verify that this wasn't the issue, I'm gonna just continue driving the car and let you guys know how it is. I ran the car just a little bit and it's still misfiring at idle. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take apart this intake tubing, take it off, take a look at the throttle body and see if it just needs some cleaning. Swapping out the intake tube for the one that came out of my totaled Civic, just because it's a tiny bit better. This one here is the one that I took off. It does have a tear on the intake right there, and then it just has a tear right there. So just a tiny bit better, and still getting the check engine light for all 4 cylinders, and it's really boggling my mind. I'm going to be taking off the fuel filter again and be changing it out with the OEM fuel filter, part number 16010ST5E02. And I'm not sure if there's dirt or something wrong with the fuel. I can't think of anything else that would affect all 4 cylinders like that, except for the fuel running through and then possibly being dirty. So I'm going to be changing this out. Guys, so this thing is still misfiring, man. So now what I'm gonna do, I got this hose in the intake. I'm gonna use some seafoam. I'm gonna be slowly dropping that into the intake while the car is running, and maybe it's just some carbon in the intake that really has to get taken out and causing that misfire. I really don't know at this point. Anyways, man, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a try, and let's cross our fingers. After cleaning up the carbon in the motor, I was still experiencing the misfire. I went inside the interior, I took the ECU out, I opened it up, took the covers off just to verify if there was any sort of physical damage, any corrosion inside of the computer. Because at that point, man, I'm really losing my mind on what is causing this check engine light. I took everything off, the valve cover, the timing covers, the crank and everything, just to make sure I didn't mess up on my timing. So I redid everything just to make sure I'm 100%, 1000% on that. And so I put everything back together, still experiencing the misfire. After doing that, man, I was just sitting down trying to think what else could cause the motor to misfire like that. I never had a check engine light so big or putting in so much work and I cannot fix it. But if you guys remember earlier in the video, I took apart the fuel system and it had like new injectors, and I have the injector right here. It's all shiny looking, but these are not OEM. Usually these injectors or Honda injectors say like Kine or some like that, and then it has some sort of like logo. On this one it says RIN 414 4041, and so I was pretty sure that these are aftermarket, because for something from 99 to still look like this is almost impossible with daily use. Anyways, I changed them out with my totaled Civic, with the injectors from my totaled Civic, and now I do not have a check engine light any longer, man. Yeah, it looks a little bit old and stuff, but check engine light is finally gone. The reason why I haven't really posted a video since my last video of doing the timing is because of this. You know, days would go by and then I would leave it alone. I get busy, I'll come back, mess with something else, and just record and work on the car when I can. Finally, I had a couple of days where I could just work on this motor and really put my mind to it, and so everything is running smooth. With the car on stock exhaust like this, how I would hear the misfire is I would just go to the tailpipe and then I would hear it misfiring. So after I would fix something, go back here, and I would still hear it puffing. But now this thing is sounding nice. I don't hear any like puffs or any interruptions in the exhaust coming out. For my first time on owning this vehicle, has no check engine lights, has no misfires, and I could finally move past this. I was just changing things that I knew that didn't really affect the motor like that, but I was just changing it anyways just to see if something else would happen. But this is going to be it, man. I want to show you the reality of coming to a little bit of a challenge on a car like this, on trying to just dig in and figure out what it is. Usually that misfire is going to be coming from either your wires, your spark plugs, or somewhere within the distributor cap and rotor, something like that. But in this case, you know, not everything goes as smooth as that, and you got to start digging around. But like I said, guys, this is going to be it for this video, so hopefully you enjoyed it. Consider subscribing and liking this video, because I'm going to catch you on the next one, player.